My name is Chuck Baxter, and we own an alpaca ranch. Alpacas are an extremely friendly, peaceful, calming animal. The most valuable part of an alpaca is their fiber. They're well known for their fiber. It's comparable to cashmere in fineness, so it's extremely soft. It is used for high-end products. They make sweaters and all kinds of stuff from alpaca. Most popular item is their socks. Their socks are extremely warm. Alpaca fiber is warmer than wool, softer than wool, stronger than wool, and it wicks away moisture where wool doesn't. But mostly we keep alpacas because they're so easy to keep, they're friendly and calming. So we first got introduced to alpacas in 2005. We spent about a year learning everything we could about alpacas and visiting different alpaca ranches. And in 2006, we picked up our first alpacas. Bought several from different places in the country. We wanted different genetics from different areas. So we picked up, I think it's 10 that we ended up with total our first year. Then from there, we did a lot of breeding, and now we've got 35 alpacas today. It fluctuates a lot because we sell alpacas. We breed, we sell. Our numbers will go up when we have babies, and they'll go down when we sell alpacas. So we fluctuate a little bit. They're well known for their fiber, well known. In Peru, they actually do eat alpaca. Here in the United States, we tend not to. They're too cute for us to eat. But they are quite well known for their fiber. That's what drew them to the U.S. initially when they first started importing alpacas. It is truly high-end. It's comparable to cashmere. Cashmere is also quite expensive. Angora sheep fiber is expensive. It's all because of how fine the fiber is, and it's actually stronger than most of the high-end fibers, so it separates itself for a number of reasons. Alpaca fiber is also hypoallergenic because alpacas have very little oil in their fiber. It's less apt to be an allergen. Unlike wool, wool is drenched in lanolin. Most people are not allergic to wool, they're allergic to the lanolin in the wool. The alpaca fiber is also a very straight shaft fiber if you looked at it in a microscope. Piece of fiber from wool, it's clear why it makes you itch. The prickliness of that is very apparent. Sheep are cheap, for lack of a better way to put it. Sheep will grow a lot more fiber on them compared to their body mass than probably any other animal. So when you harvest from a sheep, you're going to get a lot more wool. You can compact sheep into a small area. It's not uncommon for a sheep herd to be, hundreds, if not thousands of sheep, all packed into very few acres. They're cheaper to maintain. Their wool sells readily to the fiber world, if you would, whereas alpaca is a little tougher to do that with. Because alpaca is high-end, we're not as likely to sell it to fashion people. They're not going to spend that kind of money for fabric. Wool overall is very cheap. To buy a sheep is cheap, opposed to buying an alpaca. A good high-quality breeding alpaca will sell for $5,000 and up. You'd never pay $5,000 for a sheep. Llamas are twice the size of an alpaca and twice as aggressive as an alpaca. So I like to tell people that alpacas can spit, but llamas will spit. That's kind of the difference between the two. Sheep herders will use a llama out with their sheep as a guard animal. A llama will chase a wildcat off the property. Alpacas wouldn't do that. Alpacas would run themselves to death to get away from it. They're all part of the camel family, camelids, camels, guanacos, vicuñas, alpacas, and llamas. There are two different breeds of alpaca. There's a Surrey and a Wakaya. Most of what we have are Wakaya. We do have a couple of Surrey. And essentially they're the same animal. Body structure is the same. What sets them apart is the way their fiber grows on their bodies. So Wakaya grows their fiber in a fluffy teddy bear style look, whereas the Surrey will grow their fiber in straight, long dreadlock look. So very, very different fiber. It feels different after it's off of the animals. Surrey fiber has a more silky feel to it than the Wakaya does. After we moved here from Washington State, we lived up there for far too long in the rain, and we moved to Arizona and got reintroduced to the sun. We realized we needed to do something that got us out in the sun, and we needed to be active. We're not young anymore. We didn't know what that was until we read an article in a newspaper one morning about a guy in Reno that had alpacas. And the article wasn't so much about the animals as it was the lifestyle change that he had gone through. And it intrigued us. It caught our attention. So we started looking into it, visited a couple of farms, and we just fell in love with the animal. It's important to say that every alpaca has a different personality, and that was intriguing to us. Unlike sheep, every sheep I've ever seen looks and acts exactly the same, whereas every alpaca has a different look to them, and a different temperament, and a different personality. And they're just fun. They're a lot of fun to be around. They're calming, peaceful animals, and they're very, very easy to care for. They have very few diseases we have to be concerned with. Alpacas go to the bathroom in the same place every day, all day. And so if I've got 5 or 6 alpacas in one pen, they're all going to go in the same place. And so it makes cleanup easy. They're a clean animal overall. So they're just an easier livestock animal to care for. We were not farmers prior to owning alpacas. That's not what we did. In fact, I work a 40-hour-a-week job as an FAA inspector. So, and I've been a mechanic my whole life. We now have a farm. It's a whole different world. We sell alpaca products. We're passionate about alpacas, and that's something we never would have done 20 years ago. So never would have thought about. So yeah, there's a pretty big lifestyle change. Back in the day when alpacas first came over, alpaca breeding was very, very lucrative. It was not uncommon to find alpacas that sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because of that, the folks that had alpacas came from high positions in the corporate world. So they came from high stress, VP, CEO type people, and became alpaca farmers. And so for them, probably a bit more apparent, the lifestyle change, than for us even. But because of their calming effect, I mean, you can't have a high blood pressure around alpacas. I don't think it's possible. It's just they're that calming that they relax you just to be around them. So initially, like I said, it was big-time investors that got into the alpaca business. They put up a lot of money to import alpacas initially. So I think the first import was in 1984. And they had like 4 or 5 maybe imports, big imports, between 1984 and 1990, probably 95 time frame, and then they cut it off. And even to this day, you can't import alpacas from Peru. It's all part of the government deal. So depending upon how well we get along with Peru, and any given time they can open and close that. At that point in time, big time investor deal. They were not even into it so much for the fiber as they were for the breeding and selling of alpaca, because it was new here. People didn't have alpacas in the U.S., and so the investors capitalized on that. And as a result, the prices skyrocketed for an alpaca. 2007, 2008, when the market crashed, the alpaca industry crashed right along with everybody else. So that same $100,000 alpaca back in the day wouldn't be worth $10,000 in today's economy. So much, much different scale in the value of alpacas over the years. It's one of the few things that when it toppled, it didn't regrow to the same rate where it was at. and never will. It'll never reach that again. It was essentially artificial, the pricing for alpacas back then.
As an independent team of filmmakers, we love producing documentaries for artisans of all trades, honoring skill, passion, and determination. So whether you're a garage baker, homegrown mycologist, backyard farmer, or off-grid homesteader, send us a message and share your story with the world.
Our breeding program is essential. We must improve the quality of our fiber from generation to generation. So because of that, we look at every female that we have, and there's probably 6 basic criteria that we look at for their fiber quality. Based on those 6 criteria, one female may need more density in her fiber. The next one might need more fineness to their fiber. Based on that, we look at what we have to breed with. And if we have the breeding stock in-house to breed with her to bring that fineness up or that density up, whichever the case may be, then we'll breed with our own alpaca. If we don't have it, we'll look outside to see if somebody that we know outside has a male that has the qualities that we need. Additionally, we can't crossbreed or line breed our alpaca. So if we've got a female that is related to every male we've got on the property, then we're not going to be able to breed her to anybody we've got. So that's where the genetics really become important to us. Not only do we need the high quality fiber genetics, but we also need different genetics. It's not as simple as just put a boy and a girl together and make baby alpacas that are cute. For us, it's as a business, we need to produce higher quality fiber, and to do that, we need to oftentimes go outside to get breedings. 22 natural colors, ranging from white to black, and I mean, there's no blue or pink alpacas, but there are various shades, a lot of fawn color alpacas, and we kind of break those up into medium fawn, light fawn, dark fawn. You never know what recessive gene is hidden in either one of those white alpacas. If you know their genetics going all the way back, as we do, pretty much going all the way to Peru, we have tracking of all the genetics of the alpacas we have. If you've got 2 white alpacas and genetically they've not had any color mixed into their genetics over the years, you're reasonably certain to get a white alpaca. If you've got a gray alpaca, that tells me that it had some black in it at some point in time, and it had some white in it at some point in time. And you could get any combination thereof in between those 2 spectrums. Breeding for color is just doesn't work all that well. We have our own store here on the farm. So out of our younger, finer alpacas, we make a lot of yarn. We make a lot of stuff from the yarn. We make sweaters and shawls and scarves and hats and all kinds of different things from the yarn. We sell a lot of yarn to folks who crochet and knit. So yeah, there's a lot of people who have our yarn and make different things. I think the biggest misconception, probably confusion, is that a lot of people don't know the difference between a llama and an alpaca. They believe that alpacas are mean and spit, and that's just not true. Alpacas are probably one of the calmest, peacefulest animals that I know of. I'm actually surprised every week when we get visitors here how many people say they love alpacas and really have never seen them, never touched them, and confuse them more often than not with llamas than knowing what a true alpaca is. Alpacas don't absorb a lot of water into their fat cells like a camel does, so they don't save it up. They can't go long periods of time without water. If you look around, we have water buckets in everybody's pen, and they all get fresh water every day. It's actually very important for them, and they drink a lot of water in a day. They go through a lot of water. So a lot of people ask about where alpacas come from and are they native to this type of environment? And the answer to that is absolutely not. They're not native to this heat. This environment's not what they're used to. They come from Peru, Bolivia, Chile, the Andes region, where they're more of a mountainous type animal. So they're not used to this climate, and so we have to do a lot to help them to be comfortable in our environment. We're the stewards of these animals. It's our job to make them comfortable. So we give them good shelter. They've got a way to get out of the heat. We shear them just before summertime, specifically so they go through the summertime with the least amount of fiber. We give them fans and misters. I've got a big swamp cooler in the corner. And on the hotter days, we'll take them out and we'll run cool water on their bellies to make them feel good, and cool them down. So a lot of work goes into keeping them comfortable. We call it fiber. Most people in our industry will refer to it as alpaca fiber. Wool is common to sheep. A lot of people still today call it alpaca wool. It's not necessarily correct, but it doesn't make me cringe like it used to. A lot of people call it hair, and technically it's hair, right? It's their hair. But in our industry, fiber works best. We do have a well. It is great tasting water. It is. It's clear, it's clean, and it's nice to know where your water comes from, right? Most people can't say that. It comes out of a pipe from the street somewhere. Knowing that we have water and I can use what I need and conserve when I can is pretty important to me. I don't want somebody telling me you have to cut back on your water usage because our meter says you're using too much. It's too much control from the outside. I need to have the flexibility to do what we need to do when we need to do it. So some days we use more water than others. The animals need clean water. That's important to them and to us. We've got misters that run here during the day in the heat of the summer, so we're spewing water all the time. So it's nice to have a well. Very nice. People tend to believe shearing an alpaca is harmful to them. And we've had people actually come and tell us that. We've had PETA people come and tell us that we're torturing animals. And the fact is we're not. First of all, not shearing an alpaca in the state of Arizona will cause that animal to die, period. They can't survive our heat with a full fleece. So we're saving the animal by shearing it, first of all. It doesn't hurt the animal. When we shear the alpaca, we put soft shackles on their arms, their feet, and we stretch them out so that they're laying flat on the ground, and then we can shear one side, roll them over, and shear the other side. So by not allowing them to jump around and move, they're not likely to get hurt physically by being nicked by the shearer. They're calmer when they're restrained, and so the whole operation is actually pretty friendly to the animal. Also, while we've got them in that position, we can go around, we can trim toenails, we can trim teeth if they need their teeth trimmed. We can do all of that all in one setting, and we don't stress them out multiple times during the year. We do it all at once during shearing. I can give them their shots that they need to be given. I can do all that stuff while they're down. Our shearer can shear an alpaca in 8 minutes flat. So it's very minimal time that they're being stressed. Now, we will get alpacas who will lay there during shearing and scream like a little girl the whole time. It's not hurting them, but they don't want to be restrained. They don't want to be messed with, and so they're going to scream. We have some that'll just lay there and take it. It doesn't bother them at all. It's not harmful to them. In fact, it's necessary. They have to be shorn. If their teeth are properly configured, in other words, their lower teeth in the front would marry up to the top palate, underneath that palate just right, they'll stay ground down. If they have an underbite, their teeth will continue to grow. And they'll grow to a point to where it'll make that difficult for that alpaca to eat. So yeah, we trim those bottom teeth down on the ones that need it annually. Usually, we'll keep them under control. We, I think, have 6 out of our 35 animals that need to have their teeth trimmed annually. So it's not a common deal, not a big issue for us, but it does happen. I think you'd find that a lot of animals' teeth would do that if they're not properly configured. We have our teeth that marry up with each other, and as we chew, they stay ground down naturally. And that's the same with alpacas. They would do the same thing. I think another a couple of interesting things about alpacas that people don't know. Alpaca females are really, really interesting productively. An alpaca female doesn't cycle regularly. They don't go in and out of heat. They are what we call cycle on demand. So when the boy is introduced to the girl, he's got an orgling noise that he makes to prompt her to lay down to breed, and that's when she's going to cycle, which is why we keep the boys and girls totally separated. I can then, after that first breeding, I can bring that boy back 4 to 7 days later. If she got pregnant during that first breeding, she already knows she's pregnant, and she will spit and scream and kick and will not want to lay down and breed. That's our first indication that we've got a pregnant female at that point in time. Just 4 days after she was bred, I know she's pregnant. Also, a female alpaca gestation period is 11 and a half to 12 months, so much longer than humans. They have the ability to pause their pregnancy at will. They can put their pregnancy on hold, put the delivery on hold, until they feel comfortable that the conditions are right. So we've had one that went a full 13 months. So it's not uncommon for alpaca females to do that. Alpacas have kind of a finicky system, if you will, and need to have a grass hay to eat. They don't need a lot of other stuff. They don't need supplements. They don't need grain. So for the most part, we feed our alpacas Timothy hay. It's got just the right amount of protein in Timothy that they need. Too much protein, an alpaca will get fat, and they are susceptible to fatty liver disease. We keep some alfalfa here on hand. I'll use it for our lactating females who are nursing. They need that extra protein to help them keep their milk production up to where it needs to be. If I've got an animal that has dropped a little bit of weight and I want to get them a little bulkier, I'll use a little bit of alfalfa to help bring their weight up. But otherwise, they need to have that grass hay.
Hire us to tell your story. As an independent team of filmmakers, we love producing documentaries for artisans of all trades, honoring skill, passion, and determination.
The fruits of our labor literally creates happiness.
Founded in 2020, we harness our collective experience and enthusiasm for storytelling to deliver content that resonates with viewers on every level.
Think big and think outside of the box.
We avoid the constant noise of clickbait news and outrage headlines, instead crafting more intimate narratives that touch on the purpose of life itself. Stories that not only inform but also inspire, whether it's the art of agriculture, the science of fermentation, an innovative garage startup, or the intricacies of off-grid living. We're here to explore it all and invite you to join us in the discovery.
You're just working with what you have at hand instead of having unrealistic expectations.
We know the world is brimming with hidden stories waiting to be told. These are tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
The biggest thing is to realize that there's nothing that you can't do.
Embodying the American spirit that with hard work, dreams really can come true. So whether you're a garage baker, homegrown mycologist, backyard farmer, or off-grid homesteader, send us a message and share your story with the world.